Part 2. There's these superhero movies now, and a little bit relevant for what I'm talking about, with this woman who's declared depression as the diagnosis for the entry she saw on the internet. And similar to the neighbor who's pleaded to the Seattle Police Department to help the person next door who's suicidal and who they hear talking about killing themselves through the walls. There's these big glitzy and glamorous superhero movies, and one of them recently, in olden days it was Batman, now it's the Joker. And there's this belief kind of in place now, I think, in mostly culture and maybe social life also, with emotions and violence and behavior especially, and the deaths and the dying and the suffering and the pain. And then in the broader world, there's psychology, social workers who demand time, energy, effort, exuberance, and neutral gender. And psychiatrists who say, here, you just need this little medicine and you'll be okay. More and more data and information. I can't process all of these thoughts with my brain and mind and body. The thinking gets too far stretched, too unrecognizable. But has now been considered the standard for trying to solve a problem. Not necessarily for bullying, you know, the woman from Arizona who's a teacher with the dog named Heidi, you know, she's not necessarily, hypothetically, you know, because it's the internet. Anybody can go on the internet and sign up a name and put a picture and say they're just out writing and doing stuff. And what I'm doing now, having to have my consciousness just be aware and have my attention focused straight ahead, and my concentration with the face on the video on the screen I have to watch while I make these recordings. Simplicity for an explanation for someone being confused about what they hear next door are usually solved with conversation. people making the confusion go away with language, posture, and acknowledgement. There's no violence. But more than likely, error. And causing these restrictions like you gotta look away, we gotta look away, we gotta look down, you gotta look up. As if the brain and mind are so easy to just figure out. You just gotta go up and down, left and right. Consciousness. Back to the world. And the psychedelic features of what I just discussed, what I just explained, are normal. For the sake of getting rid of that racist, disgusting, outdated, and pathetic thinking. People and folks have been doing for so long, and making everything more aware and more conscious and more alive. But eventually, what's trying to get figured out and the information, the data, they get so intense. The thought turns into blood flow. Time gets to be how jacked and how awake a person is now, person is now, person is now, person is now. In the faces, in the bodies, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth are more important than the sound and the language and the noise. And the silence. And what the disarray and the sporadicness of what I'm saying has to do with is the almost rocket ship-like blast into outer space. To not only take apart an idea to not only discuss a woman in Arizona, supposedly, most likely, who diagnoses a person in Seattle, Washington as depressed from a post about sadness and emotion. Less than a page of words. And folks nowadays know if a person's depressed. They are intelligent, wise, and brilliant. A sound in another home, in another apartment, can be identified clearly enough. The Seattle Police Department can show up and question a person living in their own house. So kind of the transition from these negatively charged emotional parts of this video has to do with time. Letting a person make a song, letting a person make a painting, letting a person write a poem, letting a person work on graduate school application material. Stop, start, start, stop, start, stop, stop, restart, restart, start, restart, start, 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 restart. There's no time anymore. There is like this speed and this preciseness and this concise direction required. And consequences so severe, such as the police showing up, and an uneasy feeling about a place to do work, to make writing. The world eventually won't have many more options and choices remaining. From their left and right thinking and their up and down and their aliveness. The body will eventually restrict the brain and mind. The human won't be able to mind their body. The human will not have a mind in society. There will be a body and there will be a world where the brain doesn't get heard and stays invisible inside of the skull, like the camouflage on the wall keeping the soldier safe. Like the dream catcher and the wolf. For it to go the next day and have the energy to survive.